we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, Nolan.
Hey, deck the halls with bells of holly. Fa la 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 la. It's not Christmas yet.
It's Christmas in 4 days' time, though.
It's true.
This is the closest. This is the closest episode we have before Christmas Day.
You know what I've done today? I've just gotten off a 5-hour flight from Cyprus after waking up early to get a bus to Edinburgh for the cheaper flight prices.
Well, that's I hope the cost of the bus was not equal to the cost of the more expensive flight, because then you know what I mean. Like,
with the amount of pain I had to endure on that bus, listening to people, it might as well have been.
Listening to people, you sound very much like a particular character we're going to be focused on.
Oh no,
this
Scottish
episode.
people would turn anyone into Scrooge.
Anyone?
Scottish people would turn Chris Hemsworth into Scrooge.
Would Scottish people turn Scrooge at the end of A Christmas Carol back into Scrooge?
No, they'd probably make him worse.
No, for goodness sake. Oh no. Scotland. We love it. But yes, hello everyone. This is It's a Wonderful Podcast, episode 35, the first holiday special. Yay. Nolan, you look really not amused that it's the holiday special.
Well, you know, I'm at home with my mom.
No, Nolan, do you have something against the festive season?
I have nothing against the festive season, except it means doing a lot of stuff.
Like fun stuff?
Well, I like the cooking part.
Watching Christmas movies?
Yes.
Like these two that we're doing today?
And can we use this opportunity to say, no one gives a fuck if you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. It's a movie.
Oh. Is it a Christmas movie though, Nolan? Is it?
Sure.
Is it?
But if it's a Christmas movie,
sure it is.
So is Iron Man 3. So is Lethal Weapon.
Oh, Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie.
So is any movie Shane Black wrote. Ugh, not the Predator.
Predator, isn't it? No. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Die Hard, or Lethal Weapon, or Home Alone, or Christmas Vacation, or It's a Wonderful Life even. Surprisingly to some...
Edward Scissorhands.
Or Edward Scissorhands. Surprisingly to some, we are not talking about It's a Wonderful Life in our first holiday special.
Because we're not cliches.
Well, I am. I am a walking cliche.
You do drink a lot of tea for an Englishman.
I actually don't drink any tea.
You were supposed to play along there.
Yeah, but you know.
Well, I don't have ginger hair or wear a kilt.
You do wear a kilt. I've seen you in a kilt.
Once.
Still.
And maybe, just maybe, once more to make Kimber Barrett happy.
Yes. Well,
it's a maybe. I didn't say yes.
It's a yes, is what it is. Nolan's wearing a kilt. Nolan wears a kilt every Christmas. And,
sure, I've got a kilt-shaped towel.
I have I had a Christmas coffee today.
What's the difference?
It tastes of Christmas.
What did you put in it?
I didn't put anything in it. The people at Starbucks put something in it.
Oh my god, is it one of those like toffee nut lattes?
No, it wasn't one of the fancy ones. It was literally just a Christmas blend black coffee, because I don't do lattes and stuff. So, but it tasted.
Nothing says Christmas like overpriced coffee.
It tasted of Christmas. Let me have my fun, guys. For our first holiday special, we really wanted to give you all a nice gift. Is that fair to say, Nolan?
Yes, it is.
So we thought we'd do an extra special 2-film episode.
Wait, do they have to wait till Christmas morning? Because that is the law.
What oh, no, it's not.
To unwrap this episode, do they have to wait till Christmas morning?
Nolan, I've already opened all of my Christmas presents. No, I
I already know what I'm getting.
That would be
My brother got me Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh, fair enough. That was just the noise of acceptance there. That was just thank you.
And he got me Spider-Verse and Aquaman.
What in terms of life? I don't know. Sorry.
No, Blu-ray pre-orders.
Ah, I see. I forgot you could pre-order things.
I have a rule. If I see a movie I really, really like, I immediately go to HMV and pre-order it after watching it in the cinema. I
mean, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
And I make it a quick decision, so I don't think about it afterwards.
That is also a good point. That's why I like writing any reviews that I have to write. I like writing them as soon as possible once I get out of the movie, because then it's fresh, and you know, your first viewing of something always tends to be your most sort of raw. And
speaking of first viewings,
Nolan, I believe that the two films we're doing today, and I haven't even mentioned them by name, we are, of course, today doing A Christmas Carol 1951 and Scrooge from 1970. Two very different...
The better version.
Two very different adaptations of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Scrooge...
One of the greatest stories ever told.
Quite possibly so. Also,
I believe also one of the most adapted.
Oh, that's a definite. Surely that's a... There are endless ones. We today picked two of... Well, really this was my decision, because technically this was my pick week.
There's been so many versions of A Christmas Carol, I reckon you could make an entire play based off of little segments of each one.
Oh, for sure you could. Definitely. But yeah, today we're doing those two, and both of these were first time watches for Nolan. Both of these were very much not first time watches for me. So what we're going to do in this episode, we're going to structure it a little bit differently. Is that we're just going to go through, because it's obviously two films, we're going to go through the story of A Christmas Carol and basically just talk about what each of them did.
Grab your candy canes, boys. It's going to be a long one.
I don't mind. If this is a long one, that's what I'm saying. It's an extra special gift for everyone this holiday season, because we're very generous, or at least we like to think we are. And even saying I'm generous is making me less generous, so I'll stop saying that.
That's a good idea.
That's like saying, I'm a nice guy. No, you're not. Because if you were a nice guy, you wouldn't have to say it. Boom. I win.
Roasted.
Nolan knows I win.
Roasted like some chestnuts on an open fire, my friend.
Yes, we're so festive. Why aren't we wearing Christmas hats?
Because I left mine in Cyprus.
Mine's upstairs.
My mum makes me wear it every year.
Good. I always wear a Christmas hat. Sometimes I wear a Christmas hat to go out.
You don't understand. This one, when it lights up, it sings Jingle Bells.
That's perfect. Mine is black, and it says Bar Humbug on it.
Of course it does.
Which is a nice segue into the opening of both versions of A Christmas Carol that we're talking about today. The Alastair Sim one, 1951, opens pretty sort of normally. You have the scene, obviously, with Scrooge and Cratchit, and Fred comes in, the nephew, and it's all
Scrooge
yes,
is
it's
being
all
a dick.
he is. It's all quite standard. For some reason, to me, it felt kind of like Scrooge was talking very quickly towards the start of this film.
That's a very Scrooge thing to do, though. He'd want them to get out of his way quickly.
Yeah, I guess so, but that's definitely... It's strange when you compare it to Scrooge 1970, the musical one with Albert Finney, where I feel like Albert Finney's overall portrayal of Scrooge is very more... I don't want to say cartoonish, but like it's very much more like a caricature of Scrooge, but that kind of helps in that movie, if you know what I mean. Because obviously it's a musical, that version, so it should feel very staged, and Albert Finney just nails it. In the opening, of course, as well, because he shouts a lot. He's very snivelly and sort of crooked-faced. Compared to Alastair Sim, who kind of just looks like an old guy, an old businessman who's a bit cranky and talks quite fast. But yeah, I always found Albert Finney in the start, and I don't know which Bob Cratchit you prefer either. I think both Bob Cratchits do really well in either film, but yeah, I do prefer the opening of Scrooge 1970 in these two, not only because of the songs either, because Bob Cratchit's opening song, or really he has the first song in the movie, which is Christmas Children, is a really good song. And yeah, obviously the 1951 version doesn't have anything like that, but
No.
it does definitely present a much more gloomy, you like to use that word, gloomy depiction of the whole story, I think. And I think it does set you up really well for the kind of adaptation you get in that one. And I think, to be honest, I think both of them do that really well. I just sort of, I'm more entertained by the musical. I don't know what you feel.
Well, you know what my first exposure to this story was?
The book?
Actually, no.
Oh, was it the Jim Carrey version?
It was.
The Jim Carrey version.
My mum took us to see that when it was out in theaters, and I only had a vague idea of what the story was.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Jim Carrey one, but it's kind of hard to do A Christmas Carol wrong. It's a pretty simple story.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Jim Carrey one. It looks very weird to me. It's like it's the same kind of reason, speaking of another festive movie, that I don't really love the Polar Express.
That movie's just weird.
Because it looks kind of weird. And I get what they were trying to do in both those movies. Yeah, sure, it works for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that love the Jim Carrey mocap version or whatever it is. But, you know, I'm not really one of them.
I get that. But with this Alastair Sim one, at least with the other versions of A Christmas Carol, I walk away feeling pretty happy. With this, I just kind of want to get out of there.
What about the opening?
It's well paced and well done. It's just like, this is gonna sound weird for a story about a guy who hates Christmas, but I kind of want a bit more joy in it.
Yeah, no, I get that, and it's fair to say that you get exactly that with Scrooge 1970,
which is the first time I've ever seen it, and Jesus, it's just delightful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great opening song from Bob Cratchit, who's of course singing about, you know, how good Christmas is. He's got his children there, and he's going around the town just picking up like a Christmas goose and some a Christmas pudding, stuff for his meal.
Christmas pudding is disgusting.
I've never eaten Christmas pudding.
It is disgusting.
I mean, I've never really wanted to eat Christmas pudding. Maybe I should.
Do you like fruitcakes?
I do like fruitcake.
Imagine a fruitcake soaked in brandy.
I mean, I like...
left out to dry for 28 days.
I do like Christmas cake.
That's fair.
I do like Christmas cake, but no, I've never actually had Christmas pudding. Bob Cratchit does like a nice Christmas pudding, though.
I suppose back in that time, like, goose was considered the cheap option.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Bob Cratchit can't afford turkey, which is why, of course, at the end of every Christmas Carol, Scrooge buys him the prize turkey.
Which is kind of strange, because I've heard that goose is actually more flavorful than turkey.
Probably is. Turkey's not nice. I mean,
if you cook it wrong, it's dry.
I mean, it's serviceable as a meat, but it's like the worst meat. It is. It's like the worst meat. I guess it's fair to say that Scrooge, the musical, has it has more going on in its opening compared to Alastair Sim's version. Alastair Sim's it quickly goes from the opening scene that you're all familiar with. Scrooge goes home, sees Marley's ghost come on the door knocker, and then the rest of it flows from there. In Albert Finney one, we get kind of two more songs.
Albert Finney surprised the hell out of me with his performance of Scrooge.
Albert Finney is my favourite Scrooge. He is the best Scrooge, and I will not hear any different from anyone. I would like a discussion on that with somebody who happens to love...
I haven't seen enough versions of A Christmas Carol to make that comparison.
I mean, have you seen the Muppets version with Michael Caine?
I haven't, and Kimber's probably going to kill me for that.
Yes, I would expect you. I mean, what else is there? There's one with George C. Scott. Scrooged with Bill Murray. But
I haven't seen that.
That's not necessarily, the same.
I've seen the Christmas Carol Doctor Who episode with Michael Gambon as Scrooge.
Okay.
And there's also an alien in it.
Yeah, fair enough. Does Michael Gambon make a good Scrooge?
He was a pretty good Scrooge, but everything Michael Gambon's in besides Harry Potter, he's always a grouchy old man.
Well, he's kind of a grouchy old Dumbledore. He's definitely more grouchy than Richard Harris. Anyway, yeah. What do you make of the other two songs in the opening of the musical? I Hate People and Father Christmas.
They're catchy. Good little opening numbers.
I Hate People's great.
Is that like the theme song of your life?
No, I mean I love people, but I also hate some people. Like most of us, but I hate people. Ding 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 ding. It's a really every song in Scrooge gets stuck in your head so quickly and so well. I feel. It's nice to hear Scrooge sing weirdly, and Albert Finney nails it. Because Albert Finney was only like 36 or something like that when he played Scrooge. And
what?
Yeah. It's just makeup.
Guess it was at least 50.
It's makeup. It's really, really impressive makeup and really impressive acting. It's why he's often so like sprightly in the movie compared to other slightly more older actors who play Scrooge. Like Alastair Sim, for example, who, apart from at the end, doesn't do a great deal of sort of hopping about. But he really does it.
It's kind of funny how similar the story of A Christmas Carol is to It's a Wonderful Life.
I mean, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, especially in the Alastair Sim one, where you have all at the end, it's just all overwhelming joy when you have sat through sort of a lot of high drama sadness up to that point.
The Alastair Sim one, I'll describe it in Christmas terms.
Okay.
It's like when you're having your Christmas dinner and your mum's overcooked the sprouts. She's burnt the turkey.
Did you?
But then you find that nice little bit of roasted veg at the end.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah. And you drink it with a lot of wine.
I think that's a good analogy. I like that analogy a lot. I don't know if you've had any songs from the musical stuck in your head at all. since you've watched it.
It'd be skipping ahead because it'd be the last song in the movie where Scrooge is finally joyful. That just kind of warmed my heart.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that then. But yeah, I really like these opening songs. We see obviously Scrooge go around the town collecting his debt, and that's kind of funny.
Then he just rips up the debt thing, and I'm like,
well, he does at the end.
Great gesture, but now your business is gonna go down.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about that anymore at the end. He has no. He just wants to love.
Let's just say there's a reason they didn't make a Christmas Carol sequel.
Imagine that. No,
Boxing Day Carol.
Boxing Day. I don't want to.
I am the ghost of hangover present.
Oh, that's silly. I love it. That's no, I don't even want to think about such an eventuality. But yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next part of the story. Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley, the ghost dude, always freaks me out no matter what version of A Christmas Carol it is.
I mean, it's a fair point, but again...
He wails a lot.
He does wail a lot. He wails and flaps his arms around.
Especially in the Jim Carrey version, he's kind of weird. And in this one with Albert Finney... I love the design on him. He looks kind of like the Green Ghost from Scooby-Doo.
Did you realise who played Jacob Marley in Scrooge?
I did not, but I feel like you're about to blow my mind.
It is Alec Guinness. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That is awesome.
Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. It always makes...
Alec Guinness could have played Scrooge.
Alec Guinness could have played Scrooge. But Alec Guinness is an exceptional Jacob Marley. He's also a hilarious Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley always has that.
He's way better than the Jacob Marley in Alastair Sim version. Because that guy is kind of boring right up until he starts wailing and doing all the flappy arm stuff. He's very sort of monotone and dull. Whereas like Alec Guinness really sort of plays up the ghostliness of it all.
I love how it's the right mix of camp though. It doesn't go too much.
But it's so wonderfully camp.
But it doesn't overdo it.
No, it doesn't. But he comes into the room. He's talking like this. Hello, Scrooge.
But it's not like in your face like some of the Carrey version where it's like,
ooh, I'm a ghost. No, not at all. But he sort of floats in, and like you said as well, he kind of looks like the Green Ghost, which is
it's the chains around the arms.
Again, he's really funny. But he walks in, and I love the whole, obviously when Scrooge asks Jacob Marley if he can sit down. In the Alastair Sim one, Jacob Marley just sits down on a chair. In Albert Finney one, Jacob Marley pulls up a chair that's like 5 feet away from him, and then sits down while the chair is still 5 feet away from him. He just sits on thin air, and I love that so much. It's so funny.
There's definitely a bit more wit in the Albert Finney one.
Oh, absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. It's such an under talked about version. I feel like everyone always brings up, whether it's Muppets or even the George C. Scott one or the Jim Carrey one or whatever it is. Very few people ever bring up the Albert Finney musical one, and it's just so good. And Jacob Marley is so perfect in it, and I'm sure a load of people like. Statler and Waldorf as Jacob and Robert Marley in the Muppets one. Because they have a nice song in that as well.
I like to think that the good thing about A Christmas Carol is that there's a version out there for every type of moviegoer.
Oh, definitely.
Even for people who just want to read a book, you can read A Christmas Carol. You can listen to the audiobook.
Yeah.
If you want a wild animated one, you watch the Carrey one. If you want to feel delighted, you can watch the Muppets one or this one with Albert Finney. If you're one of those, I really want to see the drama, you watch the Alastair Sim one.
Yeah, it's very fair. It's all
It's
very,
a
very
timeless
fair.
story.
It really is. Alec, I love Alec Guinness as Marley so much.
That is a really fun casting choice.
All the way down, just down to his voice, down to the way he glides about. Because he's not just walking, he's not just flying. It's as though he's just sort of floating, but his feet are just moving so lightly. He's like dancing, he's tap dancing, he's ballet dancing across the room, toying with Scrooge. And then he has his own song as well, which is a really little song, but it's also a really creepy part.
Yeah.
Which is when Marley just flies out of the window with Scrooge and into a load of ghosts and creeps Scrooge out for a bit, because that's what Jacob Marley likes to do. Freak Ebenezer out.
It's a fun little activity, he does. Well, there was one thing about the Albert Finney one that I never really realised, and I don't know if it still goes on now, but the whole getting mystery presents for a shilling thing.
Okay, you mean in the Bob Cratchit song?
Yeah, I'm surprised that that's not a thing, and if it is, I'm surprised I'm not aware of it, because
I mean,
yeah, come to think about it, that for a lot of poor people, that would be like what Christmas is to them, but it kind of goes for the whole Christmas message of it's not about the gift, it's the thought of giving it.
yeah.
I just thought that was a really cool part.
It kind of is, but I'm sure it very much existed in Victorian England.
Definitely, and I'd be surprised if it doesn't exist now.
I do like the idea of it, because you do have the mystery, and the mystery's always nice.
It did remind me of something that always happened to me when I was growing up on Christmas.
Okay, go on. Do you want to go?
Me and my family had a tradition of walking over to the Jumeirah Beach Hotel, where my parents would get drunk, I would go play with my friends, and there'd always be this Arabian Santa in the lobby who you sat down on his lap and he'd give you a surprise gift. Best one was he gave me a Spider-Man walkie-talkie.
Okay.
I was 8 years
like
old at the
it.
time.
That's great.
And
see, there's something. I like that. That's really nice. You identify with this whole mystery gift situation.
yeah, because I like the idea of that. Like,
It's really
even
good.
you don't know what you're buying the person.
No, that's great. That's good. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very glad you brought that up. Okay, so after Jacob Marley, we of course get to the Ghost of Christmas Past. Now,
Did it feel like Albert Finney Scrooge was a bit more tragic?
in terms of Christmas Past,
Yeah, the whole, I couldn't dance with her because I couldn't do the dance thing.
you see, this is one of the sort of few areas where I actually think Alastair Sim, Christmas Carol, does Christmas Past a lot better.
Please go on.
I love Albert Finney's one. I love Albert Finney's cast. I mean, the ghost itself.
It's like the light kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, in the book it is. I know in the Jim Carrey one it does look like a candle. In Albert Finney, the ghost is a very well-dressed woman. And in Alastair Sim one, it's kind of this sort of ghostly dressed, effeminate-looking man. I don't know which version of Christmas Past I prefer. I think I prefer the look in the Alastair Sim one, but I prefer the way she acts in Albert Finney. But yeah, the whole story of Alastair Sim Christmas Carol takes a long time with Christmas Past. It really does. Whereas I feel like in Albert Finney, it's all boiled down to the one, again, really good musical number, sung by Isabel, Scrooge's, fiancée. But all Scrooge's love stories boil down into that. Whereas in in Alastair Sim, you get his love story as well, but you also get his business story. He's meeting Jacob Marley, which you never see. You get him building his business up. And you even get Jacob Marley's death. And you never see these things. And I really appreciate the fact that you see these things, because you really, really see the progression of Scrooge right from Fezziwig's Party, which is, yeah, okay, that's a lot better in Albert Finney, because you have the wonderful song December the 25th, which again gets really stuck in my head all the time. And it's a great dance number and everything like that. And the interesting thing that I was going to bring up before that I should do now is that young Scrooge is played also by Albert Finney out of makeup. So
that actually makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking, wow, they look alike.
It's perfect.
But something's putting me off a bit.
Yeah. Albert Finney, as he actually looked, played young Scrooge, as opposed to actual Scrooge. But yeah, I think Fezziwig's Party and Albert Finney is way better, but I really appreciate the time it takes to really delve into Scrooge's character in Alastair Sim one, because you never see that sort of stuff. And
that's probably because that's more a dramatic take.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know what your take on Christmas Past is.
I like developing the character a lot, but once again, it does bum you out a bit, and I get that that's the point, but still, I kind of like seeing that Scrooge wasn't always like a bitter old man.
No.
And there's something joyful about seeing how he was young and he kind of had bad things happen to him.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff with his sister is really tragic.
Yeah.
But obviously, his love story is one where he becomes more focused on money than his fiancée. And that's the exact same in both versions. You see that in both. You have the same sort of conversation in both. But you don't get the level of detail and sort of understanding of truly what changed Scrooge from, being a happy lad working in Fezziwigs to what we know him to be. You don't get that as well in Albert Finney as you do in Alastair Sim. I just really appreciate the fact that that the Alastair Sim one does that so well.
It's the best part of the Alastair Sim one. I'll give you that.
Do you think so? Do you think it's the most sort of? It's certainly the most unique.
Yeah, in terms of that sequence, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, like if it's a dramatic take, then you're gonna want to see that.
You are.
Just kind of fits it.
Yeah, you are, and obviously with the Albert Finney musical, you get a couple of songs, and it still all feels quite nice. Obviously Scrooge is there, reflecting on it all. He also kind of tries to get involved a bit and starts dancing a little bit at Fezziwigs. Of course, nobody can see him, but I mean, he does that a little bit in Alastair Sim one, but it's not so much. Like I think a good way of comparing these two movies in all is that in Scrooge the musical, Scrooge is happy a lot earlier. He really starts to become more happy and more loving sort of in the next segment that we're going to talk about, and we might as well talk about it now, in Christmas Present. Once Christmas Present turns up, Albert
Christmas
Finney,
Present, as I call him, the Morgan Ghost.
Why? Because he looks and acts like me?
Yes.
Especially in the Albert Finney one, where he's drinking a lot of wine and shouting.
If there's ever someone doing a theatre production of A Christmas Carol near you, you should go audition for that part.
Why should I not play Scrooge?
Well, you have the beard for Christmas Present.
I don't have that good. I have a very short beard.
You could grow it out.
I could grow it out, but it would take a lot of time and effort. It's like me playing Santa. I could play Santa if I grew the beard. And
I always viewed the Christmas present as kind of like a Santa Clausy type
he is.
ghost.
He very much is. He looks like Santa, for God's sake. But yeah, I always do think that Albert Finney's Scrooge really starts to become happy during the Christmas present section, whereas Alastair Sim still... He's still not entirely sort of ready to redeem himself yet.
Yeah.
I actually think the song "I Like Life" in the musical one really helps that. And again, it just fits it really well. But yeah, you were gonna say something.
I've always loved that Bob Cratchit wants to drink the Scrooge.
Yeah.
It shows that he doesn't just respect him as a boss. He does kind of see the good man underneath him. And it's just like a small little moment that always makes me appreciate this story.
Yeah, and I mean that sort of stuff is obviously in both.
Yeah.
It's in all versions you're gonna see Bob Cratchit being particularly nice to Scrooge.
But the Tiny Tim stuff always bums me out.
The Tiny Tim stuff, yeah. I mean, again, it's very, this sort of stuff is very similar in both of them. Very similar again with the party at Fred's, his nephew's. Yep. Although in the Albert Finney one they play that ridiculously fun-looking game.
You're talking about things that got stuck in your head. That got stuck in my head.
The Minister's Cat. Do you want to play a round of the Minister's Cat?
All right, what's the letter?
Pick a letter. Should we start from A? Do we have to clap?
Sure. No. I'm holding a microphone.
No, let's not clap. Go.
All right. Minister's Cat's an adventurous cat.
The Minister's Cat is an awesome cat.
The Minister's Cat is an awful cat.
The Minister's Cat is an artsy cat.
The Minister's Cat is a shit.
Yay! I win the Minister's Cat. Yes.
Where's a dictionary when you need one?
Oh, yeah, it's a really silly game that I really love that Scrooge gets so involved with. He's dancing about like a madman. That's what I love about Albert Finney, is that he gets so giddy all the time. He gets so involved in the shadows that the spirits are showing him.
He's like your grandpa in a weird way.
Well, speak for yourself.
I've met your granddad.
Is he like Albert Finney? No, I don't think he is.
I reckon your granddad's got a bit of joy in him.
Of course he has. I'm saying he's
a lovely man.
He's not got a lot of misery in him, is what I'm saying.
True.
But yeah, I love that so much. Alastair Sim is more sort of he observe. He's more of an observer to the events, almost like the spirit actually wants him to be, rather than Albert Finney, who just seems to want to just get involved. And like I said before, he's very much interested in being a better man from there, I think. And the song "I Like Life" that the Ghost of Christmas Present sings really helps to that, because not only does it get Scrooge hammered from all the wine, but it's super catchy. I like life, life likes me, life and I, something or other. I don't know, but it's really catchy. Yeah, that's a nice scene. And obviously, you go to Bob Cratchit's, you go to Fred's, but you don't get the depressing children in Ignorance and Want. You don't get Ignorance and Want in Albert Finney version. And I think that's a good choice for that movie. Because...
Well, yeah, it would bum you out completely.
Exactly. Now, A Christmas Carol is kind of a depressing story. Well, it's not. It's a really heartwarming story about a very sad man.
You need darkness to bring out the light.
You need darkness. You do need darkness. The Albert Finney Scrooge doesn't have a great deal of darkness. It has tragedy. It has a lost love. It has, he's miserable and all that sort of stuff. But it's a much more fun film overall. It really, all areas of the musical really work well for the movie it is. But whether it's so accurate to what A Christmas Carol is when compared to the Alastair Sim version, like, I think the Alastair Sim version is obviously a much more accurate version. But yeah, I appreciate the exclusion of ignorance and want in the Albert Finney, because it would kind of like, oh, what are these skeletal looking children doing here? Whereas compared to the Alastair Sim one, where they fit right in with the sort of really miserable tone of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just I don't even remember that bit much from the book, really.
I mean, so obviously it's really small. It's just basically all they are is embodiments of these two things, these two concepts of humanity, and I don't know. They're just there to they're there to show Scrooge how sort of ill and sad and bad and evil these two things are, ignorance and want. It's like, it's saying, like people and be happy. That's basically what Christmas Present tells him to do anyway. What Christmas Past always tells him to do is, like, reflect, and yes, you have had some bad times, but you were loved. Remember that. Remember you were loved, Ebenezer. Christmas Present is just like, stop it, Ebenezer, right? You'll be bad. You'll be bad. Look at these two horrible looking children. You don't want to turn into them. You like life, Ebenezer. Christmas Present tries forcing it out. And obviously, Christmas Yet to Come is the one that, of course, forces it out of him.
I reckon that's your favourite ghost.
Do you know what? In neither of these movies is Christmas Yet to Come my favourite ghost.
I always thought you would dig the Grim Reaper look of it.
I do, but... Okay, so... Wait a minute. Before we do start to talk about Christmas Yet to Come, I just want to finish on the fact that Christmas Present is supposed to die, isn't he? After his time on Earth. He's supposed to get older. And
Yeah, I've seen different theories around that.
I mean, I remember in the Muppets version he does do that, and then he sort of sparkles into dust. But yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't include that in either of these. Because, they could have done it, wouldn't have taken any more special effects than what they used. Anyway.
I think that's just like one interpretation of it.
Yeah, but it just seems like... I mean, maybe because I suppose it wasn't made a big point of. I would also like to bring up, and maybe we'll talk about this. I really do want to get your take on this before we talk about Christmas Yet to Come, is that if I said I feel like the Alastair Sim one is a little more religious focused, or a little more religion focused than the Albert Finney one, what would your take on that be?
I would agree with that. Since it's more of a dramatic take, I think it might be looking more at the religious time of Christmas, and especially in the time that it came out, where I think religion might have been a bigger thing around there, whereas the Albert Finney one is a lot more focused on the joy of Christmas overall.
Yeah.
I think for both takes it makes sense.
I feel like obviously they both have a sense of community spirit towards the end, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But certain religious things are brought up a little more. Like, it's not over, it doesn't beat you over the
It's
head.
not like
with it
War
at
of the
all.
Worlds where it saves the world.
No, it doesn't beat you over the head with it at all. War of the Worlds. What God has created has saved us all from the aliens. Shut up, War of the Worlds. For God's sake. But yeah, it doesn't beat you over the head with it, but Ghost of Christmas Present does bring up, he talks about, the child that was born in Bethlehem is not in your heart for one day of the year, but for all 365. Just like the spirit of Christmas should be in your heart, it's stuff like that. Whereas, the musical version doesn't give you really any of that, and in turn gives you the song I Like Life, which is all about dancing and being happy at Christmas. And
one's focused more on being joyful, the other's, I think, is trying to say something a bit more.
Yeah. I think
whether you agree with it or not,
exactly.
That's up to you.
Exactly. I think the Alastair Sim one, very much like the book, focuses on really what it means to be a good person in a Victorian society. And the Albert Finney one is almost like be happy at Christmas, or be a happy person, as opposed to be a good person, if you know what I mean. Even though, obviously, Scrooge turns up both a good... In both versions, Scrooge ends up a good person. But I think that means more to Scrooge in the Alastair Sim version by the end, because it's this whole cultural thing, whereas that's just sort of nowhere to be seen in the Albert Finney one.
Yeah, I've always had the idea that Scrooge was a good person and he just got older and cynicism kind of beat him.
Yeah, and that's
why I try not to be cynical. I don't want to end up like Scrooge.
Of course not, and that's exactly what the Ghost of Christmas Past shows him. He shows him, look, Scrooge, this is the real you. You are not like you are now. This is the real you. What happened? What happened? Look at all these bad choices you've made. You let your fiancé go because you were too obsessed with money. And it's really nice messages of sort of just don't forget about the important things. It will turn you miserable. That's what I've always liked about the story of A Christmas Carol anyway, is that it is very much a case of, stop and look. To quote Ferris Bueller, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you could miss it. And Scrooge misses life because he didn't stop and look around.
No, he just went face planted into a grave.
He did. He did. As soon as the Ghost of Christmas Present, that's a fantastic segue. As soon as the Ghost of Christmas Present leave, he the death ghost turns up. Nolan, go ahead.
Oh, this is the best looking ghost for me.
In which version do you think he looks better?
I'm still gonna go with the Finney one here.
So am I. I think the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come looks slightly ridiculous in the Alastair Sim one, because it's just a human hand wearing a black cloak, and in some shots you actually see the human being that is underneath that black cloak. I never want to see the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come's human being face. That really kind of was bad for me.
Do you remember what it was like in the Carrie version?
No. Was it
terrifying?
Was it the shadow on the floor?
It was. Then it turned into the Grim Reaper thing and chased him around with a chariot.
Yes, of course it did. See, that
scared me when I was a kid.
I don't like that as well. I don't like the shadow on the floor. The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, I've always found it weird in the Albert Finney version that he was dressed in a brown cloak. Even though I think he looks great, because he's just a tall, gaunt figure without a face, and you never see his face. and he moves his arm up to point and such things, but you don't see a hand there. And yeah, okay, I prefer the look of the Ghost of Christmas Future in the Albert Finney one, definitely.
When we put on A Christmas Carol at my school, we had to use a ghost face costume for Ghost of Christmas Future.
How did that go? That sounds perfect.
Some of the younger kids were pretty freaked out.
Did the Ghost of Christmas Future start asking people what their favourite scary movie was?
No, what their favourite Christmas movie was. And when they answered Die Hard, he told them to leave.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that is perfect. Were they wearing the mask? You don't even need to wear the mask.
They were wearing the mask because you could see, because like in the Alice or someone, you could see their face.
Oh, it's a really silly. It kind of bothers me that you can see the human being's face under that, because obviously in the Albert Finney one, I mean, we'll get onto the really unique part of the Albert Finney Christmas Yet to Come sequence, but you do end up seeing the ghost's skeletal face. Of course, this is after the best song in the entire movie. Thank you very much. Sung by Tom Jenkins, the hot soup man, as Scrooge refers to him as.
Serving him pea soup.
Serving him pea soup in the beginning of the movie, when I believe he owes Scrooge £6 something.
£2.10.
Or is it £2.10? Oh no! Isn't that the laundry women that owe him £2.10?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone owed him £2.10.
Someone did owe him £2.10. That's quite right. £2.10. I love Albert Finney Scrooge. I'm sorry. I'm surprised I haven't.
I would love to see someone go back in time to that time and be like £2.10. Yeah,
there you go.
I didn't feel like a roll this morning.
That'll be £2.10 lady. I think it's the ladies. I don't know. I will stop pretending to be Ebenezer Scrooge as well. Although I don't know. It's weird.
I've assumed you've been Ebenezer Scrooge this whole time.
Yeah, I act like him, don't I?
No,
I act like Ebenezer Scrooge. Or do I?
Only when we bring up new movies. You're the Scrooge of movies.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Only when
you're the Scrooge of film Twitter.
I am the Scrooge of film Twitter, to be fair. I like looking on my past. Or looking on the past, I should say. Not my past.
The Ghost of Christmas Future for film Twitter would probably be terrifying.
Oh dear, I don't want to think.
It just shows 50 superhero movies being made at the same time.
Shudder. I don't want to think about it. I do not want to think about such a thing, even though I like superhero movies and superhero movies.
The funeral part for
the funeral
Christmas
part.
Future,
yes, of course,
always kind of makes me sad.
Yeah, and obviously it's done in two really different ways here.
So in Finney one, it's like Scrooge thinks they're thanking him, but they're clearly not.
It's so funny though. It's one of these sort of really darkly hilarious things about the whole Albert Finney version, is that Tom Jenkins, the hot soup man, is sort of stood around this crowd of people. Scrooge has died, as we all know. Scrooge's coffin comes out of the office, but Ebenezer has no idea. And once Tom Jenkins starts, sort of getting everybody to cheer, and then Scrooge comes up and sort of thinks they're cheering for him because he's done something nice for them. And
when he kind of has,
and exactly,
by dying.
The hilarious thing is that he's done the best thing that could have happened to any of them and died. Of course, epitomised, timelessly captured by the song Thank You Very Much, which is a Robinson family favourite.
Where was that tradition when I came to visit?
It wasn't Christmas.
It was cold.
It was it wasn't. It was cold. It wasn't Christmas though.
Remember the heating broke?
It did. Thank you very much.
We had to cuddle up next to each other.
No, we didn't do
warmth.
that. We did not do that. Stop it. We did not do that. It's a ridiculous thing to suggest. I love Thank You Very Much so much, and I sing it all the time. I just want you to know
I'm pretty sure
that.
you could sing that in the shower.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. It seems a bit bizarre, but things the way they are. I never thought that life could be this good to me. What a horrendous word to say about somebody that has died. And that is why I love the song Thank You Very Much. Because it's hilarious, but also really, really, really dark.
Rest in peace, Scrooge.
Rest in peace, Ebenezer Scrooge. In the Alastair Sim version, it is not as really big and grand. But again, with the Thank You Very Much song, it's such a big spectacle song as well. It's a really big spectacle musical number.
It's like melancholy
with
in
everybody
a way.
dancing. But in the Alastair Sim one, the whole Scrooge dying stuff is done as it is in most of the adaptations, where Scrooge overhears two businessmen talking about someone that has died. And, obviously we all know that it ends up being him. He has no idea. The Tiny Tim stuff is done very similarly.
I hate knowing that he eventually died.
I mean, everybody eventually dies,
Yeah, but he was a kid.
Yeah, but Tiny Tim doesn't die. That's the whole good thing. He doesn't.
Didn't he, I always assumed it was implied that he died quite young because of his health.
I mean, he probably died quite young, but he didn't die. Not in none of these. In neither of these movies is it suggested that Tiny Tim died soon after.
I always just took that away from the overall Christmas Carol story.
You are miserable. That was a maybe.
I guess.
But yeah, I think the Tiny Tim stuff is done really very similarly. Same kind of emotion. Again, both Bob Cratchits are really good. Both Cratchit families, I think, are really good. Even though the Albert Finney Bob Cratchit or the Albert Finney Cratchit family seem slightly sort of, I don't know, they seem more joyful, they seem more together. Maybe this is due to, again, the fact that one was the 70s, one was the 50s, adaptation wise. I don't know, but then you'd assume that the one in the 50s was more together. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
The adaptations of A Christmas Carol, I don't think there's ever been a bad one.
Even though... No. Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen. I mean... No. No, I was trying to think. I don't think there has been. Not that I've seen. I've seen some really sort of small ones as well. I've seen an animated one that I'm sure had Nicolas Cage in it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
If anybody knows of an adaptation of A Christmas Carol with Nicolas Cage voicing Scrooge, then please let me know, because I'm sure I've seen that somewhere.
I just imagine Clint Eastwood playing Scrooge now.
Clint Eastwood is
That is Scrooge.
Clint Eastwood is arguably too old. Clint Eastwood is also too badass still.
He'd spend the whole movie yelling at a chair.
Clint Eastwood is 87.
He's old.
He is old. He's a Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas could probably play Jacob Marley.
Kirk Douglas, who this month, of course, celebrated his 102nd birthday, which is incredible. And we are, of course, fans of Kirk Douglas on this show. But we're not...
Michael Douglas could play Scrooge.
Michael Douglas could play Scrooge. I would be about that. That's a fantastic idea. Somebody cast Michael Douglas as Scrooge, please. I like that a lot.
Or if you want to get the really hardcore version of Scrooge, get Samuel L. Jackson.
Do you know what? I would not be against it. I think it'd be quite
Have
good.
you ever heard the word motherfucker in Christmas Carol? Well, you're about to.
It wouldn't. I wouldn't mind actually seeing something like that. Danny Glover.
Oh, that would be dope.
Danny Glover as Scrooge would be good. Yes.
You could get Donald Glover as Bob Cratchit.
No, Donald Glover. Glover as Bob Cratchit. That actually kind of really
enough.
works. That really, really works. Make it a musical as well. Donald Glover can sing.
I'm just imagining him singing "This Is America" over a Christmas Carol.
Oh, for God's sake! I don't think that'd quite fit. To be perfectly honest, it's not kind.
You just change some of the lyrics to include Scrooge.
It's not quite the same vibe. Yeah. Anyway, Alastair Sim, Christmas Yet to Come. I've talked about the fact that it is more usual because of the Scrooge overhears the businessman, and then of course the spirit takes him to his grave site, and it's all very nice, and we all know what happens there. However, in the Albert Finney version, Nolan, would you like to tell everybody what the hell happens?
Oh, he face plants into a grave.
But where does Albert Finney go, Nolan? Where the hell does Albert Finney go, Nolan?
I believe to a version of hell.
Nolan, Albert Finney goes to hell in this version of A Christmas Carol, and it is the best thing that has ever happened in any version of A Christmas Carol. Why, oh why, don't more of them literally go to hell?
They could do that in a modern version and just have Dave Grohl reprise his role as the devil from Tenacious D.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And of course, let's not forget, Jacob Marley shows back up.
Of course he does.
Alec Guinness shows back up and starts prancing around again and doing a funny walk. And gliding his feet and, skipping along really light-footedly, and it always makes me laugh because why is Obi-Wan Kenobi skipping? It's really funny. Nolan, it's really funny.
Maybe there's an extended theory that the Force Ghost Obi-Wan is Jacob Marley.
Yes! Yes! Oh my God, yes! Why have I never thought about that before? That is
now when you watch Star Wars again, you're just going to see Jacob Marley.
That is the most perfect thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm so happy because I'm thinking about that, and I'm also thinking about Alec Guinness's funny walk. And the fact that Scrooge is... Now, what I love about this sequence, Scrooge falls down his own grave into hell. Okay. Scrooge then meets Jacob Marley, burns his finger on brimstone. Jacob Marley guides him to his office, which is made of ice. Scrooge has been given the job of the devil's clerk. He is the devil's Bob Cratchit. That is Scrooge's job for eternity if he does not change his ways. This is such a fantastic addition. I love it so much. It's so unique. It fits the kind of nonsense that is the musical version, it's so perfect, and I love the fact that his office is made of ice because of his cold heart.
Oh, it's a nice bit of irony.
He's surrounded by all. It's very similar to Scrooge at Christmas, right? He's surrounded by all this warmth from the families enjoying themselves, being together, but he's alone in his ice box, freezing because he's cold, because he doesn't want to put his fire on, because he doesn't want to waste firewood, because then he has to pay for firewood. It just fits Scrooge perfectly to have his office in hell be made from ice. And then, of course, Scrooge's chain is brought in. We all know Jacob Marley wears chains. Have you ever seen Scrooge in a chain? No? In the Albert Finney version, you see Scrooge in a chain. The chain is massive.
You'd probably also see that in the porn version.
Probably do. But no, nobody wants to think about that. I don't want to think about Jacob Marley and Scrooge and whatever they get up to in their spare time. They don't have any spare time anyway. They're just doing business. So stop being lewd. Scrooge's chain is brought in by several hulking men.
One of which is named Shrek.
One of which may very well be named Shrek. Very, very sweaty, topless men bring in Scrooge's chain. I'm not even... look, if you haven't watched the Scrooge the Musical and this is putting you off somehow, do not let it put you off. It's wonderful.
If anything, that should be the selling point.
Well, I mean, maybe for you. Definitely for you, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that that Scrooge's chain is he's so large that it actually just envelops him and he can't control it. And then, of course, he wakes up. It's a much better Christmas yet to come sequence than the Alastair Sim version, which is very standard. Even though I do like the direct adaptation of, you know, old Joe, the shifty dealer kind of guy who gets brought a load of Scrooge's, you know, bed curtains and drapes and stuff like that to sell. That's obviously very, you know, directly adapted from the book. Yeah, I like that sort of stuff. I also bit of trivia for those who know this. The guy who plays the Undertaker in the Alastair Sim version, who shows up twice, once with old Joe, and once when Jacob Marley dies in the Christmas Past, is played by Ernest Thesiger, who played Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein.
There we go. There's Morgan trivia for you.
And of course, we all know that Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein is a remarkably camp man. Although Ernest Thesiger isn't so camp in the Alastair Sim Christmas Carol movie, it's fun to see him pop up. Yeah. So that's basically that. Of course, they both end with Scrooge waking up Christmas morning, and Nolan, I feel like I've talked a little too much, as I often always do. Why don't you lead the discussion on the ending of both of these movies?
Well, I already summed it up with my analogy for the Alastair Sim one. This is that little roasted veg that you find amidst the burnt ash charcoal Christmas dinner, which feels like a nice little payoff after all the misery we've had to endure with this one.
I agree.
Whereas with Albert Finney, I saw this take online after some comments, and I really liked it. This is probably one of the only takes where you actually see Scrooge do a lot of the joyful stuff that he said he was going to do.
Very true.
Go by that surprise Christmas turkey, bring it to his office. I'm ripping up my debts. I'm probably going to drink too much wine later. I'm dressed like Father Christmas.
That was funny. Scrooge buys a Santa outfit and wears it and surprises Mrs. Cratchit.
Although it wasn't a green Santa outfit.
No, it was not. That was what the Ghost of Christmas Present was wearing.
Mm-hmm. And it's also what the original Santa Claus wears, but
anyway, let's not get into that discussion.
Yeah, thanks Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I actually, again, this is I like that you like the ending in the Albert Finney one so much, because you get to see Scrooge do all the stuff that you were always told he does. But I actually kind of prefer the Alastair Sim ending.
Go on, because I greatly prefer the Finney one.
I think Alastair Sim is at his best in the ending of this movie. I think Alastair Sim plays a... I think it's because we've seen Albert Finney already be a bit giddy and a bit fun and a bit happy throughout the movie. Whereas you get it all in the short space of time with Alastair Sim. And he pulls it off so well. Just skipping about and waving his arms and just smiling and laughing and jumping around and giving people Christmas presents and going out into the street. And yeah, okay, you don't get as much of the so-called good deeds that we see Albert Finney do throughout his big sequence, because of course you also get the big finale song in Albert Finney one as well. But I think Alastair Sim in that particular moment plays the joyful redemption of Scrooge better than anyone else in any version I've ever seen. Albert Finney is still my favourite overall Scrooge, but no one beats Alastair Sim purely for doing that, I don't think, in my eyes.
Probably because it's been holding off on a lot of the joy until the end, so it just feels like a big sugar rush. Exactly like that. And I don't know, I spoke about this in an Inspector Calls episode last week, where Alastair Sim kind of does a lot of the acting with his eyes compared to the rest of his face. And his eyes just go from being really dour and sort of droopy to just full of life. And obviously, he's smiling, he's laughing as well, but his eyes just get wider and brighter. And Albert Finney kind of looks the same. He's still got a scrunched up nasty face, he's just smiling now. And dancing about, but he's also been dancing about for half the movie. It's more like, I think for the Finney one, it's like it's always there and they're just taking a while to bring it out of him.
Yeah.
So when it does happen, it feels like an arc, whereas Alastair Sim, it feels like he's held so much in that there's a lot at the end.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's the best way I could possibly describe.
I guess it depends on whether you prefer a balanced diet or a lot of salad followed by a big ice cream sundae.
Again, with these analogies, you're killing it. I love it. You are killing it today. I do appreciate the end of Alastair Sim one as well, because it ends with God bless us everyone, again with the whole sort of more directly adapted religious stuff, as opposed to Albert Finney, which ends with Merry Christmas. Fair enough. I if you're asking me, I'm a non-religious person, so I'm gonna go towards just saying Merry Christmas. But in terms of direct adaptation, to end A Christmas Carol with God bless us everyone just fits perfectly. Mm-hmm. And you of course get that shot of Scrooge and Tiny Tim being very friendly and, you know, he calls him Uncle Scrooge, and we learn that Scrooge becomes like a second father to Tim, and which is, again, directly adapted, whereas Tim never feels so close to Scrooge in Albert Finney, as opposed to Scrooge basically getting the entire community together to have a big party on the street.
You're going to freeze in that party.
You are, but Scrooge is wearing a Santa outfit, which I'm sure keeps him warm.
He's going to need a lot of mulled wine.
I'm sure he drinks a lot of mulled wine. He definitely sings a lot. And of course we get thank you very much again, because Tom Jenkins shows up again, and as a Christmas present, Mr. Scrooge lets him keep his £6, or however much money it was, and Tom Jenkins starts singing thank you very much again, and it's my favourite, and it's such a great way of ending it. And the final thing in, well, actually not the final thing, because I like how the Alastair Sim version shows Scrooge go to Fred's Christmas party rather than tell Fred on the street to expect him at his Christmas party, which is what Albert Finney does. So I really like that the Alastair Sim version actually goes there, and they have a nice dance and everything, and then after that, of course, we get the whole Bob Cratchit, I'm going to raise your salary, when he comes into work the next day, because, you know, Scrooge pretends to be his same old miserable self and plays a little trick on Bob Cratchit. And I've always liked that. And of course, that's not in the Albert Finney one either, as opposed to him just telling Bob Cratchit this during the big finale. The big finale song, basically. The same with him telling Fred that he's going to come to their Christmas party, and can you forgive a pig-headed old fool and all that sort of stuff. I like how the Alastair Sim version breaks that up into, so you see each different part of it in separate scenes rather than all in this one scene. But I do like how the very end of the Albert Finney version is Scrooge just alone, just going back home, dancing, singing thank you very much, and then telling the door knocker, which of course turned into Jacob Marley, telling the door knocker that he was going to go and spend Christmas with his family. It's a very nice way to end that version, I think. Compared to the, like I say, more direct, traditional version of that the Alastair Sim one is.
Well, can you say which version that you prefer?
Oh, I prefer the Albert Finney version. The Albert Finney, Scrooge 1970 is my favourite Christmas movie.
I'm probably gonna have to.
No, it's not.
I said this to you after I watched it. I'm adding it to my Christmas playlist.
That's actually a lie. It's A Wonderful Life is my favourite Christmas movie. Well,
don't you go all stereotypical film fan on me.
It's a Wonderful Life is the best Christmas movie. Albert Finney Scrooge is my favourite, because It's a Wonderful Life is not an easy movie to watch. I will watch Albert Finney Scrooge another 4 times before Christmas Day. I will only be watching It's a Wonderful Life once, as I always do every year, because I can only watch it once, because it's too damn emotional. It just is. It just is, Nolan.
I know.
Which one?
But
yeah, you go ahead.
But I gotta say, this has been a good little ride, because now I've got another version of A Christmas Carol to add to my playlist.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what you think, how you compare the endings.
The Alastair Sim one, it just feels like a big rush after all the gloom, but still kind of fit. The adaptation side of me prefers the Alastair Sim one because it's more in line with Charles Dickens' original message. The kid in me prefers Albert Finney.
Definitely. I think I probably rambled on way too much and probably said all that you would have said as well. Which is something...
More or less, yeah.
Which is something that's probably a problem, and I probably need to stop doing. I don't know.
It's Christmas. I'll let you have this one.
Thank you.
That's my Christmas gift to you.
What a lovely gift. What a lovely gift. Letting me...
What I've just noticed, have you put a Christmas bow on your microphone, or is that just the little thing that holds
a Christmas bow? No. No, this is my mic stand.
It looked like a Christmas bow.
A Christmas bow, look.
Is there a tree up in the man shed?
No. No, there is not. No, there is not.
Is there anything up in the man shed that's Christmassy?
Not even a little.
Besides you?
No, there isn't. There is not. This is my. This is purely the recording studio.
Well, I think we've broken a record here.
Yes, we have. But I was expecting us to, because we compared two films today. True.
But there we go. A Christmas gift for us. We're breaking records, baby.
We are. But it's nice to break records sometimes, though. Nolan, which of these two films did you prefer before we do wrap up?
Albert Finney, definitely.
Albert Finney. All the live long... Which Scrooge did you prefer?
That's tricky.
It is kind of tricky. Albert Finney.
Once again, adaptation in me says Sim. Kid in me says Finney.
Which Bob Cratchit?
Finney.
Which Christmas Past?
Sim.
Present?
Finney.
Future?
Finney.
And Jacob Marley.
Finney.
I think it's conclusive, guys. The Albert Finney Scrooge 1970 musical is wonderful. And the 1951 Christmas Carol with Alastair Sim is also very, very good. It's just not as fun. It's not as feel good. Go and watch both of these movies. They are very worthwhile. And learn, appreciate the musical. Appreciate Scrooge the musical, because no one ever talks about it and it annoys me.
Well, besides this, obviously, what else is on your Christmas movie playlist? Because I know what's on your music playlist.
Do you know what? That's a fantastic question. Let's end this holiday special by talking about other movies we are going to watch this holiday season. Obviously, It's a Wonderful Life is on there. The first two Home Alones I usually watch, but Home Alone 1 I do prefer. Christmas Vacation, because I'm a big vacation movie fan. What else do I watch? We often have some very, very bad Christmas movies on, like the TV movies that are just awful and that are all the same. What else has been? Deck the Halls has been on. I'm sure Jingle All the Way will be on at some point. I'm trying to think of other ones. Probably just more versions of A Christmas Carol. I don't know. What's on yours?
Home Alone 1, 2, obviously.
Yes.
I know my parents will put on Die Hard, so there you go.
And Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Oh, actually, my parents don't like Lethal Weapon.
For goodness sake.
My mum does, my dad doesn't.
Well, fair enough.
I will be putting on Edward Scissorhands.
Okay.
And I will be replaying that ice dance
so
many times.
Understandable.
Much to my brother's annoyance. Also, I don't know if we really know if I could consider this a Christmas movie, but could you say Big? I don't know if it's set at Christmas, but it's got that kind of.
Do you know what?
Kid spirit.
Is it set at Christmas? I mean, there are plenty of. I think there are plenty of movies that people watch at Christmas that have actually nothing to do with Christmas. I could see Big being quite a good holiday watch.
I probably won't watch Vacation because I find the comedy in it very mean-spirited.
Christmas Vacation is a vacation. Look, okay. Okay. The first Vacation is so funny. It is.
But it's so mean-spirited.
It is. But it is also one of the funniest pure comedies of all time. And Christmas Vacation is the second best.
Anthony Michael Hall's in Christmas Vacation, isn't he?
He is in Vacation.
Right, okay.
He plays Rusty in the first. Yeah.
I think I'd rather just watch him get stabbed in the gut by scissors and fall off a castle.
That's fair enough. It's completely fair enough. And you are going to do that several
times. And I've got a new one that I'm going to introduce here. Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. Okay.
Because they talk about Christmas in it. And it's about a guy who's getting away from another guy, flying over the country, delivering gifts to everyone.
I mean, it's an unusual choice for a Christmas movie. But, okay, do what you want to do. Like I said before, there are probably many films that have nothing to do with Christmas that people often watch at Christmas. Wizard of Oz.
Don't watch Home Alone 4.
No, don't watch Home Alone 3 or 4. But the Wizard of Oz is one that people often watch at Christmas.
Yeah, I can see that.
For some reason, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is often watched around this time as well. And I'm sure that'll be on because I love that movie as well.
Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3. Again, we've already talked about Shane Black, I think, a little bit.
And every Christmas episode of my favourite TV shows.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody has a very good Christmas episode.
What is with you and the Sweet Life?
It has a crazy engineer try to use a chainsaw to cut up the front desk. It's hilarious.
Nolan, it's a show for 11-year-olds.
It still holds up. It's still funny.
Mind you, I say that. I watch Scooby-Doo.
It's a show for...
Scooby-Doo's a show for everyone.
I know. Okay?
You do know. You do
right.
know. Nolan.
And I've not been up to much besides getting annoyed at people on planes because they won't let me read my damn book.
Nolan, please be happier this holiday season. I hope you have a very merry Christmas.
I'm gonna drink a lot of mulled wine.
You go ahead and do that. This has been a fantastic first holiday special on It's a Wonderful Podcast, episode 35. We talked quite a lot about A Christmas Carol in all its glory and forms today.
I believe we've talked the entire runtime of a version of A Christmas
Carol. Do you know
Carol.
what? It looks like we have. I think we are now actually over the runtime. You could have watched the Alastair Sim version and listened to this, and this would still be going while that is finished. So, happy Christmas, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We will see you next week. Yeah, that's all I think I have to say. Apart from obviously the podcast plugs. But Nolan, is there anything else you want to say first?
Do a kind thing this year, please.
Just that.
That's all I got to say.
Fair enough, guys. Find the show on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Castbox, wherever else you might find podcasty stuff. Leave us 5-star reviews and nice ratings and stuff like that, because it's nice to be nice, especially around the holiday season. Find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Hashtag It's a Wonderful One on Twitter as well to talk to us about the show and tell us if you like it. Tell us what you don't like if you don't like something. What is your favourite version of A Christmas Carol? Is it
Have you seen more than one version of A Christmas Carol?
Is it Scrooge the Musical? I hope it is. Because that's mine.
You'll make Morgan very happy.
That's mine. Follow me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the. Follow Nolan at
NolanDean27 with a 2 and a 7 because it's my birthday.
Oh, I like that. Okay, I'll give you that one. Yes, guys, that is going to do it for this extra specially long version, holiday special of It's a Wonderful Podcast. Until next time, from me, bye, Nolan. Do the honours.